that tells me that whatever I'm dealing with is demonic. Hey YouTube, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then welcome. My name is Jasmine. I make videos about literally everything, so just go ahead and subscribe because there's something on my channel that you're gonna vibe with. So today I just want to hurry up and get into the video because I have a feeling it's going to be a relatively long video. Okay, so today we're gonna talk about paranormal experiences, demons, spirits, ghosts. So if you don't believe in that, that's totally okay, but I know what I've seen and I know what I've felt and I know that the energy is there. So I'm going to share with you guys what's happened to me throughout my life, and yeah, so let's just get right into this. I also want to disclaim that I've always wanted to make this video, but I've always been too scared to make this video, but now I'm kind of like, you know what, I'm not gonna not live my life because something is watching me. Like, fuck off. I want to preface the video with saying there's always been a presence surrounding me. No matter where I've lived, no matter how many times we've moved, there has always been a presence surrounding me. So I'm gonna start in chronological order from when things first started happening all the way down to recent events that have happened. Weirdly enough, they go in order from least scary to most scary. So when I was a baby, my mom had me in 1998, and my mom lived with her best friend, who I call my aunt. She also had a child that year. So she had a son, my mom had me, and they were living in an apartment together. So my aunt was out at the time, and my mom was babysitting me and my cousin Kyrie. So my mom was upstairs putting Kyrie down for a nap, and she put him in his cradle and came back down to me because I was screaming. And when she came down to me, she said there was a swarm of flies just surrounding me, and she was like, what the fuck, because all the doors and windows were shut. And if you know, you know, flies are a sign of the devil. It was an unexplainable amount of flies. It wasn't just like a couple. So she was like, nah, this is not a thing. So she opened up the doors, she like tried to swat all the flies out, whatever. She said she got rid of them for the most part, and then Kyrie started bawling. And so she went upstairs to Kyrie, who she had left in his cradle, and he was on the floor. He is an infant. He had no way to get himself out of his cradle. And she was like, oh hell no. And then she came back downstairs with Kyrie to where she found me laying, and all the flies were back. And so she was just kind of like, oh hell no, this is not a thing. And so her and Nicole quickly moved out of that place. And then there was another instance where my mom said that, okay, so she had the kind of headboard on her bed where it was like a solid headboard, but then it had like mirrors in it. And she said that she went to take a selfie of herself with her back camera because, you know, flip phones didn't have front camera. And she said when she went and looked back at the picture, there was a man in one of the mirrors in like her headboard. And she was laying like against her headboard. So that would have had to have meant the man was standing in front of her and staring at her, basically. She was hella spooked, and she was like, whoa. We used to move around relatively frequently, like around the same area where I could still go to the same schools, but like we would move apartments. So again, at this point, my mom and Nicole were living together. And I remember like telling my aunt I was just creeped out by the house, and she was like, yeah, I feel like I hear things like coming up and down the stairs at nighttime all the time. My cousin Star was over, and I remember we were like, okay, well, you know, if like Nicole feels like it's spooked, we feel like it's spooked, like whatever. So I remember thinking I was so funny, and my window was not open. It was not open, okay? And I was like, if there is a ghost or a demon or a spirit in here, show yourself. And as soon as I said that, my poster blew off my wall. Like, just... And it was tacked. It had thumbtacks in it, 4 thumbtacks in it, okay? It was my Taylor Lautner poster, and it flew off my wall when I asked for a sign. And I was like, oh hell no. I was so scared. Me and my cousin screamed and ran into my aunt Nicole's room, which was right next door, and left my 4-year-old sister on my dresser screaming and crying because she didn't understand why we were freaking out. So now's where it starts to pick up a little bit. My mom, my sister, and I moved into this apartment at one point, and me and my sister were sharing a room. And my little sister was asleep in her bed that was right next to mine, and we had a walk-in closet. So my sister was scared of the dark, so we used to keep the light on in our walk-in closet closet, and we would keep the door open so that the room like had like a night light basically. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've always been scared of the dark my whole life too, which I also feel like me never growing out of being scared of the dark is contributed to me always feeling like there is something around me, because I never feel alone, so I never want to be in the dark where I can't see, you know what I mean? So we were both fast asleep in the middle of the night, and I just remember my little sister got out of her bed and I was woken up to just noises of crashing and just yanking hangers, and just I was like, what is going on? And like I looked up and my little sister is in the closet just tearing things out of the closet like she's crazy. And I was pissed because it was like 3 in the morning. I was like, what are you doing? Get out of the closet, go back to bed. And she literally, like, I feel like I have to demonstrate it for you guys, because this to this day freaks me out. As soon as I was like, get back in your bed, it's 3 in the morning, she's like, she stops tearing things and she said, she looks at me like, well, face towards me with her eyes closed, and then she slowly walks up to me all the way across the room until she gets to the bed. Again, her eyes are closed the entire time, and she goes, shh, I have to kill it. And I was like, Mom! And she just slowly walked right back into her bed and laid back down and went to sleep, like she didn't just say she had to kill something and like tear things apart at 3 in the morning. And I was freaking the fuck out. And at that point, I was convinced that I was not crazy for feeling like something was around at all times. Something had possessed my sister, and I don't know what was going on, but I was terrified. Granted that scary things would always happen in my life, I still insisted on watching paranormal scary movies. My cousins and I were on this hype where we were watching The Conjuring. And so at this point, we had taken a liking to the game hide and clap. And so we would play it just all the time in my apartment, and nothing wrong, like there would be nothing bad that would happen. But then at a certain point, and at this point we had different cousins living with us, so no longer we're living with Kyrie and Nicole, but now my cousin Ramon, his mom Tiffany, and his brother and sister Kayla and Devin. So they were all living with us at the time. And so we were playing hide and clap. Nothing bad had ever happened when we played. It was no big deal. My friend Mariah comes over and we're telling her we're gonna play hide and clap, and she's getting super scared, and she's like, I don't like scary movies, I don't like paranormal stuff, I don't like to mess with any of that stuff, I don't want to do it. And we were like, why are you freaking out? Nothing bad has ever happened. But you also have to remember, because my family is so used to paranormal things happening in our household, like just little weird things happening, like things moving or like lights turning on and off or whatever, like we are used to that at this point. So every time we lived in a new place, we always attributed any weird thing that happened to a ghost, and we would give it a name. So in this specific apartment that we lived in, the ghost's name was Randy. I don't remember why my cousins and I decided to pick that name, but we did. So we went with Randy, and we were like, Mariah, nothing bad is gonna happen. And she was like, no, I'm not playing. And I was like, watch. If there's a ghost or a spirit in here, give us a sign. And I shit you fucking not. The second I said, give us a sign, the lights flickered and then burnt out. And I was like, and Mariah screamed, and she's like, I'm not playing. As soon as I would say, give me a sign, it would give me a sign. It wanted me to know that it was there. So there was another time where in that same apartment where my sister said, shh, I have to kill it, and we played hide and clap, my best friend TJ was over at the time, and we were taking pictures. In one of our pictures, we looked back at it and we were like, what is that? And we analyzed the picture for so long, trying to justify what that could possibly be. We tried so hard to come up with an explanation so that we didn't freak out, and there was no explanation. It literally it was a shadow of a man like holding a briefcase with a hat on, and there was no explanation. Do you remember the time in 8th grade when you spent the night and we were taking pictures and we saw something in the background of a picture and we tried super hard to justify it? Do you remember what the shadow looked like?
I remember exactly what you're talking about, But I don't remember what the shadow looks like.
We just came to the conclusion that it looked like a man with a briefcase and a hat. And we were like, yeah. And we were like, what the fuck? Finally, we move into the house that my mom currently lives in. This was my sophomore year of high school. And so our dogs would like frequently bark at something that was behind us in this house. Like we would just be sitting there just having a casual conversation and the dog would just get super angry, super vicious, and just start barking at something. But you could tell he wasn't looking at me, he was looking at whatever was behind me and like just barking at it. And I was like, I don't want to know it's there. Please don't tell me it's there. I don't want to deal. Thank you. Dogs can see ghosts. So I was like, oh God, like if my dog is trying to warn me something is there, like that's fucking great. So throughout my living in that house, my mom has had both my aunt Nicole and my cousin Kyrie living with us, and also my cousin Tiffany and her kids Kayla, Ramon, and Devin living with us. At different times though. So when Tiffany, Kayla, Ramon, and Devin were living with us, Ramon told me multiple times that he felt scared in the house. I'm actually gonna call Ramon and have him explain this because I'm pretty sure that he told me there was like, he told me something sat on his, like he felt like something was like holding him down. He had sleep paralysis. Let's see if he answers. Yes, he answered. Okay. I'm making a YouTube video right now about paranormal stories, and I need like to hit you up about your part. So you told me one time that you had like an experience where you like got sleep paralysis, or you felt like something was like holding you down. You couldn't.
Yes.
Yeah. So what happened?
I remember.
Okay. So what happened?
Okay. Hold on. Fuck, that was coming. Okay. So we were living in the house that your mom lives in, and I was sleeping, and I just felt like someone was like laying on top of me, like literally on top of me. Like I couldn't move anything, like at all. Like I was completely conscious, like, you know, like my eyes were shut, but like I was awake, like I was completely conscious, but I could not fucking move, and I felt like I couldn't breathe, like it was so heavy on my chest. Okay,
so I told this story, but like, do you remember what happened when like we invited my friend Mariah over and we tried to play hide and clap, and the second I was like, is there something in here? And do you remember what happened?
No. Which one was your friend Mariah?
Okay, so like we tried to play hide and clap with her and she was scared to play, and I was like, oh, don't worry, like nothing bad ever happens, watch, if Randy's gonna hurt you, like show us a sign. And all of a sudden the fucking lights went out.
Lights
See?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I was just trying to see like if you had any other like experiences you remembered that I might have forgotten, because we've all gone through this.
But like I just can't think of them off the top of my head right now. Oh my God, he followed us from the house. Like I remember him following us. I remember weird shit would happen at the apartment. Then all of a sudden weird shit would happen at the house.
Yeah, so that was Ramon's experience with sleep paralysis, and when he told me that story, I didn't believe him because I had still like was trying to be in denial. Like I knew that there was weird things happening, but I didn't want to acknowledge them because then I had to deal with them. So then fast forward, Nicole and Kyrie are now living with us again, and Kyrie tells me after a couple months that he feels weird in the bedroom, and he told me that he felt like in the middle of the night he felt something sitting on the edge of his bed, but then he would look and there was nothing there. And I would always again think he was over exaggerating, because even though weird things had happened throughout my life, I had still never seen anything. But then I have my own experience. So my first sleep paralysis happened when I fell asleep. I was like having kind of a scary dream, and I had one of those dreams where you wake up and you thought you woke, like, you know, on TV when they show scenes where like the character wakes up and they're having a nightmare and they're like, oh, thank God I'm awake, and then something scary happens again and then they wake up again. So that's the experience I had. Okay, so I was like having a bad dream, and then I woke up from the bad dream and I felt so happy that I was finally awake. And then I saw like a dark cloud figure just kind of like over my head. If you remember watching Twitches as a child and you remember the darkness, that's what it looked like. And then I remember like wanting to scream and then not being able to scream and being like, oh my God. And like I wasn't able to scream, I wasn't able to talk or move. And that's when I realized I was having sleep paralysis, because then I woke up again after trying to scream and yell, and I was like, Mom! The sound finally came out, and my mom was like, what? Because it was like 3 a.m, which again, ominous time. And I just like went back to sleep hella fucking scared, and I told my mom about it, and she told me she had seen that black fog multiple times, and I was like, good, that's great. So then actually my mom told me a story. She said, and my mom's not the kind of person to make this kind of stuff up, so she told me she was sitting in the living room watching TV one day, and then all of a sudden she was watching herself, and she said that she saw something else in her body and she wasn't in it and had to demand that whatever was in there gets out of her body until she was back where she was supposed to be. And so something had taken control over her for a small amount of time, and she told me about that and told me not to tell my sister because she didn't want me to freak her out. But I was just like, oh hell no. So whatever this is trying to possess us. So this is not something that we can take lightly. Time progresses, time goes on, and then I'm in my bedroom and I pray every night in my head at this point, because I'm so terrified of whatever's in this house like possessing me after my mom told me that I now prayed every night and to protect everybody in the house from being possessed. But I would pray in my head. And so there was this one night, and if you've ever seen the movie Insidious, this is gonna sound a lot like this, and I can't explain it in any other way because this is exactly what happened to me. So I was laying in my bed and I was sleeping, and I was having this weird dream where it felt like I was not necessarily dreaming. Like I was dreaming, but I like wasn't at the same time. Like it kind of felt like I was astral projecting. So it felt like my soul had drifted from my physical body and was in a realm that it didn't belong in. And so I felt like the dream was kind of weird because it had like, at first I was at a coworker's house, just parked outside of his house, and there was something wrong with my car and he was gonna look at it, and then all of a sudden like everything just looked kind of gray and it like just had an ominous vibe, and I was like instantly afraid because I knew that something was wrong. And all I could think to do, and I know again this sounds a lot like Insidious, but I swear to God this happened. So my coworker who was looking at my car wasn't the one who gave me the weird vibe, but one of my other coworkers was standing near the door and of the house that I was going to go into, and he was looking at me funny. And again, I describe this as I think he knew my soul didn't belong where it was wandering, and I don't have any other explanation for it, but whatever. And so I walked into the house and he was like looking at me funny, and then I started running and he started chasing me, and I ran into a room. And again, this wasn't my house, but when I opened the bedroom door, it was my bedroom. So I jumped onto my bed where my body was laying, and all of a sudden in like it went back to being like a dream because my soul was like in my body, so I wasn't seeing it from the point of view of like me running. All of a sudden I was like back in my head, and the last thing I saw before I woke up and opened my eyes was a demon. Like I jumped back onto my bed where my body was, and I saw a demon's face just go and just like scream at me. And then I woke up and I was like, fuck. And like it scared the absolute shit out of me because it didn't feel like a dream. It felt like something was trying to enter my body, knew that my soul was not in my physical vessel, and went for it, but I made it back to my body before it did. And so it was angry, and that's like the only way I can explain that. And then I just started sleeping with the lights on and playing like a TV show every night when I would go to bed because I was so terrified and I didn't want to be like sound asleep because I didn't want to project out of my body if that is what had happened at that point. So I was trying to keep it so that there was noises going on in the background so I wouldn't fall into a deep sleep, because I wanted to be aware of what was happening so I could wake myself up. And so I would sleep with lights on all the time. So there was another time when I was just sleeping and I woke up, and even though my eyes were open, I couldn't scream or talk or move anything, but my eyes were open. And I remember just feeling like I was gonna see something terrifying, because at this point I had done research on sleep paralysis. So I remember just like knowing, like just feeling like I was going to see something scary, and it never, like nothing scary ever came. And then finally my paralysis shook off and my body like caught up to my head and I was awake. And then this is where it gets really bad for me. So I came home from work one night. I work at a restaurant, so I was there really late. So when I got home, it was like 11 o'clock. Everybody was in bed, and I went and I turned on my my makeup light. And so I put a whole bunch of lotion on my hands because I was about to take off my makeup, but I didn't have makeup wipes. And if you don't know, lotion takes off makeup real well. So I put a whole bunch of lotion on my hands, and as soon as I went to splash it on my face, and remember, the only light on in the room is my makeup light. Everything else is pitch black dark. I saw a figure walk past my door, looked like a lady with a long white nightgown, long black hair, and walked past my door. And past my door, the only thing left is another bedroom and my mom's bedroom. So you can't go anywhere. You have to go into a bedroom. I didn't hear a door open. So I was like, "Mom," and she didn't respond. I yelled for everybody in the house. Nobody responded. So I finally freaked out, booked it into my mom's room, and asked her if she had just walked into her room, to which she woke up angry and was like, no, because it was really late at night and she was like annoyed that I walked into her room. I didn't sleep really well that night. I was terrified, but at that point I was determined to get Sage. So the next morning I went to my mom and like I talked to her about it again, and then I asked my cousin, I was like, have you ever seen the ghost before? Have you ever like physically seen what it looks like, just not experienced like weird things? He's like, I saw it last night actually. And I was like, I saw it last night. And he's like, really? And I was like, what did it look like? And he was like, well, it was a lady with long black hair and a white nightgown. And I was like, oh hell no, because then at that point that 100% confirmed that I had seen a ghost. And I was like, oh hell no. And he's like, I was sleeping like this, and like when I woke up I opened my eyes and she was laying right here, and I freaked out and punched and it just gone. And I was like, see, that kind of shit. And so at that point I had confirmed that there was definitely something in our house. I knew already that it was not friendly because it had tried to possess my mom, and I knew that it was now powerful enough to where we could see it. It wasn't just something that was like making weird things move. So I was absolutely petrified at this point. So this is what absolutely did it for me and made me like go find the Sage. So, and it's not weird for me to pray. I prayed on a nightly basis that nothing bad happened to anybody in my family. So, but the difference between this night and every other night was that every time I had prayed, I had done it in my head. So this time I decided to do it out loud. And when I said, "Dear God," the second that I said God, my TV went staticky and my lights turned out. I was absolutely petrified. The fact that when I pray to the Lord and I say God, bad things happen, that tells me that whatever I'm dealing with is demonic. And so I was like, yeah, we're not doing this. And so I had gotten Sage, we saged the house, we felt really comfortable for a while. And then I moved into this apartment with my girlfriend back in 2019, and everything was fine for the longest time. And all of a sudden the other night I got sleep paralysis. But when I got sleep paralysis, you bet your ass, when I opened my eyes, I saw the lady with the white gown and the black hair standing in my bedroom doorway. And I was absolutely petrified, terrified, not ready to deal. And my girlfriend was sleeping next to me, but I couldn't yell, move, or scream. And I eventually shook out of the paralysis, but this was the first time that I've seen a whole figure while being paralyzed. Usually it was just like the dark fog or I didn't see anything, but this was now me clear as day seeing the same woman that I saw in my mom's house while being paralyzed. And so all that says to me is that whatever's been following me since I was a child is now like still attached to me. So I know it is not following my mom or my sister or anybody that used to live with me. It was following me because it is still here in my apartment and I don't even live with my family anymore. So I recently just saged my apartment, which is why my last YouTube video is how to sage and get rid of like spirits and negative energy, because I had to. So yeah, I'll keep you guys updated if any other scary things happen, but so far since I've saged, I've felt a little better. I mean, a couple things actually did happen after I saged, like weird things turning on and off by themselves, and like I was like, okay, maybe I didn't sage correctly, so I might sage again. But yeah, those are my paranormal stories. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can be notified every time I upload new videos. I love you guys so much. And yeah, let me know if you liked this video and you want to see more things like this or just whatever you want to see. Comment down below. Thanks guys, I love you. Bye.